What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of All In with Nate. I apologize I didn't get a chance to do a show last week. I had every intention of doing it. I just got caught up with a lot of other stuff that was going on. But all in all, my thoughts on this game, I didn't come in thinking we were going to win. And you already knew going into the game, the Bengals, first of all, we were coming in without Casey Hayward, who we lost in the San Francisco game for 4 weeks. AJ was coming off that hamstring injury, so you kind of knew you were going to have your hands full early on. But when we lost AJ Terrell in the first quarter, it just totally took off from that point on. And credit to the Bengals, they won 35-17. The Bengals started to show themselves for what they were last week in New Orleans, and it just really took off today. They came home and they really showed up and showed out. And again, to me, those are games that you're going to see when you are a team that is in a quote-unquote rebuild mode like the Falcons are. You saw the difference of what a team looks like that actually went to the Super Bowl last year and a team that is far from that. The lack of talent got exposed today. So, I mean, credit to the Bengals, credit Joe Burrow, and as weird as all these things are, the Falcons are still tied for first place because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers cannot get their act together. So the NFC South is still a mess. The Falcons are still on track right now, even after losing that game, which is weird. It's weird for me to say, but again, like I said, Joe Burrow and company, they had a field day. If you had Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd in your fantasy lineup, you should win your fantasy game easily. Those three cooked today. And there's nothing to take away from those guys. Those guys showed out. They showed out today. I'm not taking nothing from them. That Darren Hall, Mike Ford, you guys got absolutely blasted all game long. Cardell Armstrong, he came in from the practice squad, had to face off with Jamar Chase, man. Pray for that young man. I hope they don't mess his confidence up. But again, Falcons lost 35-17, fall to 3-4 on the season. They come home for the next 2 weeks. They got the Panthers next week at home. That's just coming off of a big win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you got the Chargers coming here after that. But my personal thoughts on the game is this. Number one, we got a chance to see the issues that we have on the offensive line from losing from a team that actually has a decent defensive line, excuse me. Because if we're going to be honest, the Falcons have played maybe one stout I'll say two. We played two stout defensive lines this season. The Buccaneer game was a little hectic at first, and then we started cutting back to that lead. And then the Rams game was another one. But today you got a chance to see what happens when you force a team to throw the ball a lot. And again, it was not so much of Marcus Mariota this, Marcus Mariota that. You simply can't move the ball if we're having to. One thing I didn't like about Arthur Smith, he got stubborn. Yes, we've ran the ball well most of the season, but we've been within reach of all games that we were able to run the ball in. This game was never close. The closest we cut it to was that 10-point swing we had before, 17-point swing, before the half, where it became 28-17. Other than that, they couldn't move the ball because either we're still trying to force a rushing attack to happen that's just not there, and then it's hurting Drake London and Kyle Pitts. It's hurting your receiving core because, as you saw, you got a sleeper speedster in Damiere Byrd on the offense that got his first touchdown of the season. But again, we don't throw the ball as much as we should. So we would never know what we could actually do in the passing attack because it doesn't predicate to our game. And the offensive line had a very rough day. Caleb McGarrett looked like the bum that he is. I do not want us to re-sign him. I hope we move on from him after the season. I am not going to go for that fool's gold mentality of this contract year. I want us to get us a right tackle. He was a bust. Jake Matthews had one of those days where we all know Jake Matthews got destroyed as well. But overall, this game was just out of reach early. And the defense, I felt bad for the back end because you already was down AJ Terrell. You were down Casey Hayward. You lost Mike Ford in the game. You lost Jalen Hawkins in the game. The offer was out. So, of course, the guys going to get cooked on that back end. And they did. This game shows the lack of depth that the Atlanta Falcons have. And once again, I don't know how it's going to fare for us next week. We're going to play the Panthers, who's actually a pretty good unit on defense, even with the fact that with them having the coaching issues, they showed up and showed out at home against Tampa Bay. So they're going to come in with a little confidence. And as weird as this sounds, this game might be for first place next week. That is weird. This is a rough season. This is reminding me of 2014 in the NFC South. It really is. But let me hit these comments real quick. Buddy, what's going on, bro? What's going on, man? Y'all subscribe to my boy, man. He does a great gaming channel. Appreciate you tuning in. Jay Harlan said it's all good. What are we going to do without the D-Beats? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Because we have several issues in the injury department. So that's the problem for the Falcons. Like, AJ shouldn't have played today, if you're going to be honest. We were going to lose this game regardless, if you ask me. So don't force him back out there. You need him long term. But you don't know if AJ Terrell's going to be back next week. You now have a situation where your top 4 corners on the depth chart are all either injured or out. Jalen Hawkins took a fourth quarter injury. So the Falcons got to figure something out in that secondary. They may have to sign a veteran this week just to come in and fill the void for this team. Luckily, you're coming back home, but again, that doesn't fare that much because, once again, the Panthers are going to be feeling themselves off that win. I'm not saying they're going to beat us, but I'm saying that you have to think about this situation of this season for the Falcons. You want to have some type of secondary to show up next week at home. Let's go to the next comment. Mr. Lancaster, yes, we did get blasted. There's no other way to put it. We lost. We got smoked. No other way to put it. Amy, you are silly. Byron said that the Carolina gets an upset next week. Book it. I'm not trying to book anything. I want a home win. We're at home. I'm not trying to bank on none of that. Oh, man. Ken, what's up, bro? He said Joe Burrow was cooking Buffalo Falcon wings. You are silly, man. But he did. He had a day. And if you started Joe Burrow today, smart move on you. Because, once again, they had a great day. Amy said today was a fluke. It could possibly be. We'll get a chance to see. We will get a chance to see. AJ said, whoever says we need receiver help is an idiot. We don't really know what we'd have at receiver outside of Drake London and Kyle Pitts because we're not throwing the ball a lot. And even when we got down by double digits, the Falcons still didn't throw the ball. And it's like you got to, at some point, figure out what you have in that passing attack. Now, I got to give Mariota credit. That was a dot that he threw to Damiere Byrd before the half to cut the lead. But once again, the Falcons did not try to throw the ball to see what you have downfield. Like, I'm not tripping so much about the fact that we got behind the way we did. But once again, get a chance to see what you have. Like, throw the ball, see what you can do. See if Mariota can get comfortable as a passer more than anything else. So, it is what it is on that. Castro, shut up about the Cowboys, man. Don't nobody care about y'all beating the Lions. Anyways, next comment. Julian said, I'm not actually upset. Neither am I. I had us losing this game anyways. Because, once again, that is a very stout group. That's probably the best receiving core in the league, if you ask me. They probably have the best receiving core in football. If they have the most depth, I would probably say. Because Jamar Chase had a day. Tyler Boyd had a day. T. Higgins did not get going today because he really didn't have to. But again, T. Higgins can get going at any point. So the Bengals showed why they are a Super Bowl contender this season. Like they showed why they went to the Super Bowl last year. They're that freaking talented. So I'm not really mad about about us losing that ball game either. To me, this was more of an experience thing for the Falcons because honestly, this is a rebuilding ball club. We all knew this all year long. It's been more so of a let's see what happens when we get on the field. And to the Falcons' credit, I mean that's your hardest 3-game stretch of the year until the end of the season when you play Baltimore, Arizona, and whatever is the Buccaneers at that point of the season. So we'll see what happens. AJ said it tells you something when you're down 3 scores in the fourth and they were still running the ball. You ain't beating. Absolutely. I had an issue with that. We didn't even attempt to throw the ball to say, look, we want to still try to win this game because 18-point leads can get slashed in the NFL. I mean, you did it. You were down 25 at LA and cut it down to one score before the interception happened. So at the end of the day, you didn't even show that you wanted to try to see, okay, can we move the ball? And another thing, and Amy, I'm going to post your comment in just a second because I've actually said the same thing on my page before the game even was over. I said that we should have threw Desmond Ridder and just give him some reps. We know the game is over. If you don't care enough to throw the ball, give your rookie a shot. This is nothing against Mariota. I didn't say Mariota was awful today because the line was bad. The game was out of reach early, but give your rookie a chance. Don't let Mariota, who's your starting quarterback, take some of the hits he took late in that ball game either. That I was starting to get a little hesitant about that as well. Let's see what Amy. This was Amy said. I'm not calling for Mariota head, but we should try Ridder. Yes, we have to try him out at this point. Again, don't get me wrong. Marcus Mariota played great against the 49ers last week. He was not the reason. I'm not going to say he was the reason for us losing today because he didn't have a bad day at the office, but we don't try to throw the ball. So you want to get a chance to see. And then on top of that, Mariota is what we all know as a bridge quarterback. So at some point in this season, you're going to have to show what you got with Desmond Ridder because this is not a 2022 Atlanta Falcons comment that we're making here. This is after this season is over with more cap space with a potential Ridley coming back. I don't know what's going to happen in that situation, but you got to know what you have. So what may be a potential first-round pick, what are you going to do at the first round? Do you feel that you need to go get a quarterback? Maybe you don't need to go get a quarterback. Maybe Ridder is a potentially solid guy. Again, we're not saying replace him as the starting quarterback right now, but again, you need to throw him in at some point. So what he got? Because we're 7 games into the year. It's not 10 games left in the regular season. You're going to get somewhat of a workable stretch, but at the end of the day, the Falcons have to start figuring out what in the world are they going to do in that situation. Let's go to the next comment. He's Lee. What's going on, bro? He said, man, our whole division is point. I'm actually surprised with 2 of the 4 teams in the division. I thought New Orleans would be way better than they were this year, but New Orleans have completely underachieved at 2-5. Tampa is 3-4, but Tampa does not look anything like the Buccaneers that we have known and seen for years. I think the Buccaneers, this really could be, I think this is Tom Brady's last year. I think there's no question about that. But at the end of the day, that team, even when you look at that team in this situation they're in right now, they have glaring holes they did not have for the first 2 years of Tom Brady, and that's kind of surprising. And then you just lost 2 manageable wins. You are better on paper than the Carolina Panthers. And last week against Pittsburgh absolutely shut that offense down. And their schedule doesn't get easier. They got the Rams and Bucks coming up. They still got to see the Bengals. They still got some solid teams down the road that they got to play. But once again, you don't know what you have because you're not showing anything. So don't know what's going to happen with them. We know Carolina just fired Matt Rule a week ago, so don't really know what you're going to see from them as well. So the division is in shambles right now. Castro said the worst, yes, it is. It's the worst division in the league. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They are the worst division in the league. And I totally agree with that. This is a division where the only team that flat out you knew was coming in as a team that was trying to rebuild was the Atlanta Falcons. You did not see Carolina looking this bad, New Orleans looking this bad. Not bad. Tampa and New Orleans looking that bad. You know what you're going to get out of Carolina, but you do the coaches on the hot seat coming into the year. So once again, the Falcons, as weird as it sounds to say this, they're tied for first place because it's so weird. It is so weird. And there's a possibility that the Buccaneers could lose Thursday night at home against the Ravens. Who knows? But we'll see about that. Jordan, what's going on, bro? Say it is what it is. Type of lost logical Falcon. Yes, it is. Because most people came into this game saying, if we win, great. But if we don't, I mean, we know what we're going up against. And like I said, this league is all about momentum. If you saw the Saints game for the Bengals, they started getting hot in that second half against the Saints. You knew they were going to ride the momentum home against the Atlanta Falcons, who was going to come in with a depleted secondary, and boy, did we get gashed. I think Joe Burrow nearly had 500 yards passing. We'll get a chance to look at the stats in a minute. Mr. Lancaster said Arthur Smith should be. I don't agree with this, and I'm going to tell you why I don't agree with this. The Falcons are 3-4 right now. Most punters had us winning 2 games. Some had us winning 1 game. They're competitive enough to where they're near the 500 mark at this point of the regular season. So even if the Falcons win 3 or 4 more games this year, you came in knowing that you were rebuilding. Mariota's a bridge quarterback. You don't have depth on this team. A lot of your rookies do have potential. I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. So it's kind of hard to go ahead and scream he's on the hot seat. Now, maybe next season, if this team goes on to win 6 or 7 games, and next year we come out like 1-5 or something out the gate, then he possibly could get fired. But I don't think it's too soon to start saying he's on the hot seat, for me at least. I think there are things he needs to do better as far as a head coach, but I think it's way too soon to scream that he's on the hot seat. Amy said, I think they were giving up on Brady. That game was stupid. Yes, it was. The game was dumb. That game was weird to me. I kept checking in on that game in between our game or even at some points during our game, and I just could not understand that team. I don't understand nothing that's going on in Tampa Bay at this point. But I do know this much. They're going to have to blow that team up after this season. Win or lose. They're going to have to blow that thing up because I don't see Tom Brady playing another season in this league at this point. Amy also said, I'll add the wide receivers. They look like they were playing hot potato. They weren't catching anything. Yes, we don't have a solid receiving core outside of Drake London and Kyle Pitts. You know when you're going into the game, focus on these 2 guys. That is the one crazy thing about this team. You don't really know. Now, Zacchaeus makes timely plays, but he's not a slot guy. He's not one of your top 2 guys. Damiere Byrd is a speedster. He comes in for one particular thing. Like, you don't really have talent, and you kind of work. Like I said, this was a game where you got a chance to really see what the Falcons have to deal with from a bad cap situation, lack of depth on the defense, especially in the secondary. The secondary, which was one of the strongest suits that was coming in, got destroyed today partially because of injuries and partially lack of experience. So it is what it is. So that was more of an experience gainer for the Falcons secondary today. Vaughn Taylor said Mike Everson, no, he should not have missed that catch. I seen that in the first drive of the game, and that set the tone for the rest of that game. So, that is what it is for that too. But a couple things I want to touch on from what I was watching this game. I think the Falcons have to really start embracing playing more of this draft class. You have to start doing it at some point. D'Angelo Malone had a sack today. Ebiketie gets consistent pressure on the quarterback. He should have had a sack himself on Joe Burrow. Troy Anderson is a solid linebacker. He's going to develop and be really, really good. The Falcons have actually done a good job. Tyler Algier is a decent running back. I don't know if he's a set starter yet, but to be every player on this in that draft class from 22, with the exception of Schaefer because he's on a practice squad, has shown me potential in some shape, form, or fashion of why they could contribute long-term to this team. But I'm not a fan of Dean Pease in the way that he sets this group up. A lot of times we're throwing unnecessary blitzes as if we have the secondary to back it up, and they're not getting after the quarterback. Or you're out here running with, I know they're still trying to work on a Donajay, what's buddy name? Abu Anderson. They're trying to get those guys snaps. To me, they don't fit this team. They don't fit this team. They do not fit this team. By the way, Grady Jarrett having an outstanding year. I know I had wanted us to move him just because we were in a rebuild, but he hands down should be an all-pro at the point that he's at so far this year. He's doing a solid job out the gate. Taquan Graham, to me, is starting to emerge as a solid second DT. I don't think he's necessarily a starter just yet, but a rotational guy, absolutely he is. But to me, the Falcons don't utilize this group the way that they should. I still at times wish this team was a 4-3 defense. I think we would get a little more pressure on the quarterback if we were, because a lot of times you're spreading Lorenzo out wide and Bichetti out wide. You got 3 DTs in the middle. That does not work. That does not work, especially when you go up against a better offensive line like the Bengals were, even though the Falcons actually got pressure when they were getting back there. So it's crazy. Quentin, what's going on, bro? He says start Ritter ASAP. I think they're going to have to give him some reps at some point because the Falcons need to know what they have as a passing attack. We have to probably be the worst unit in the league throwing the ball. And it's not even so much because we lack in this position. We just don't throw the ball. Arthur Smith is so dedicated to, I want to run the ball. I want to run the ball. I want to run the ball. That's fine and all. At the end of the day, you drafted a wide receiver, number 8, that has the potential to be a future Mike Evans because he's that freaking talented. But he got to get the ball. He got to get snaps. You don't see no other rookie receiver in the NFL right now that's not getting utilized that came out in that first round. Olave has emerged as probably wide receiver 1 right now with the banged up Saints second receiving core. Garrett Wilson's getting snaps for the New York Jets. Drake London is the only guy that first round who's not getting the reps that he should, and it's not because he's not good. It's because they're just not throwing the ball. Christian Watson's getting snaps in Green Bay. Deuce is getting snaps. He was an early second round pick in Green Bay. Everyone else that you've seen that came high in that first round or the top 2 rounds at receiver is getting reps. They're not doing it on our side. Same for the second year Kyle Pitts. Outstanding talent when the ball is thrown his direction. That's my gripe with Arthur Smith. You're basically you're taking away the fact that you have 2 talented pieces unless you don't trust Marcus Mariota as a passer. If you don't trust him as a passer, give Ritter reps. That's all I'm asking. Amy said we're going to make the play. As sad as much as this comment could seem like a reach, it's not a reach. It's not a reach. Because if the Falcons win next week, they're in first place at 4-4. That's the sad part about it. That's the sad part about it. Vaughn Taylor, what, bro? He said, funny how Jared sacked Burrow the exact same way. And thank you. I said the same thing when he got that sack on Joe Burrow. Same way, set him down, did everything he's supposed to did right, and there was no flag. But, of course, as we all determined on the stream 2 weeks ago, Giselle's ex-husband was not trying to lose the Atlanta Falcons. But you end up doing a better one. You lost to the Panthers at home and didn't score a touchdown. Congratulations, Tampa Bay. Moving on to the next comment. I feel bad for Grady Jarrett ruining his prime days, but we'll go down. He's absolutely. It sucks because it's crazy how similar his career is to his dad, which is Jesse Tuggle, if a lot of you don't know, the longtime linebacker for the Falcons back in the 80s and 90s. His career is so similar. Hard worker just like his dad was. Clear best player on the defense just like his dad was. All pro just like his dad was. But the team around him is just not good. I'm hoping that this era does continue to progress in building talent. And one thing I got, and the biggest thing I want to continue to say, the players want to win. I'm not going to take nothing from them on that. One thing I will say that I have enjoyed the most, and it's not much because it's not the most talented team in the world, is these guys compete. They want to win. They feel like they can win. We know they're not as talented as they should be or could be later down the road, but they are competitive. It was 28-7. They cut it to 28-17. Like you're showing that you're showing that so much week in and week out, but it just sucks because, I mean, today was one of those days where it's like, okay, you knew you were going in to play a Super Bowl team in Cincinnati. So they got a chance to play both Super Bowl participants last year, and hopefully they can learn from those games like that. Katie Bailey said the Falcons are down double digits through 13. This is my gripe too. Arthur Smith was down by double digits like that for one of the first times this season, and he was still trying to run the ball. Run the ball. You're wasting time off the clock, and you're down 18. Of course, we didn't move the ball and didn't score again, but again, you're wasting time by running the ball. We don't have the greatest offense in the world to keep running the ball down 18. Come on, man. But again, he's going to have to step up to the plate and start learning how to get a balanced offense. You do not have Derrick Henry in your backfield. Yes, the Falcons have a top 10 rushing attack this season, but Derrick Henry is nowhere in that backfield. So just stop it. Amy said, who don't know? Tugging Crimson, my heart 100%. Yes. I love Grady Jarrett. Like, he's such a great guy. I've been a big fan of his. Glad that we did not move him from him. I wanted us to move him from him. And, you know, I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad we re-signed him and he's shown why we kept him. So definitely glad we did it. And she said the Commanders. Yes, I see the Commanders beat Green Bay. Green Bay got out. The national pundits are going to destroy Rodgers and Tom Brady tomorrow, by the way. We're gonna go ahead and make that comment real quick. Vaughn takes our field between O and K, playing Carolina next week. So do I. I feel like we're gonna win. And at the same time, that defense has been pretty freaking solid all year long. And then I'm concerned about our secondary situation because the problem with our secondary right now is they are not, you know what I'm saying? These guys are they're banged up right now. So I don't know what we're going to see next week. Hopefully we find ourselves in a situation where some of these guys get healthy because it's a definite winnable ball game and I feel like we can win the game. So hopefully these guys can get healthy. He also said Aaron don't care. He can't because the Vikings is running away with the division lead. They're on a bye. They're 5-1. The Vikings running away with the division right now in the NFC North. So it's kind of concerning if you are the Green Bay Packers that these guys can't find a way to win. You lost to the Jets last week, and now you lost to the Commanders. So kind of a rough spot for these guys. But let me hit these stats real quick. I want to try to get this thing wrapped up real quick because the Niners and Bengals is getting ready to play. And I said Niners and Bengals, my bad. Niners and Chiefs is getting ready to play. So let me hit these stats real quick. Let me go full screen. Give me a second. All right, that's the stat line from there. Okay, the box score for the day. Marcus Mariota, 8 of 13, 114, a touchdown pass, got sacked 3 times. Joe Burrow with his ungodly 481, 3 touchdowns, no picks, got sacked 3 times, had an 138.2 quarterback rating. Goodness. Atlanta's rushing attack ran for over 100 yards once again. Algier had 16 for 50 and a touchdown. Mariota had 31. Caleb Huntley had 22. Joe Mixon, 58 rushing yards and a touchdown. Joe Burrow had a rushing touchdown. So even at the office for those guys, rushing attack. Demir Bird led the team in receiving that 1 catch for the touchdown before the half, 1 catch for 75 yards and the touchdown. Zacchaeus had 3 for 31. This is where we go back to the issues that we had with the Falcons up front. Like Drake London got a catch for 9 yards and Kyle Pitts had 3 for 9. That is a problem. Not when you have put first round picks on both of those guys. This is the reason why you see Atlanta Falcon fans saying it may be time to give Ritter some opportunities to throw the ball. It also plays a factor into the lack of talent on the audio that came on. I'm sorry, y'all. But the lack of talent on the QB and with Arthur Smith. As far as Joe Burrow and company, Boyd had 8 for 155. Jamar Chase had 8 for 130. T. Higgins had 5 for 93. Hayden Hurst, the former Falcon, had 6 for 48. Joe Mixon had 3 for 33. Them guys cooked all day long, and there was nothing that we could really do on it in this secondary. It was bad. Okay, let's go down to the defensive stats. Rashawn Evans led the team in tackles with 13. I hope we re-sign him next season. Jalen Hawkins, who got hurt, had 11 tackles, 7 solo. A lot of these was probably post the big catches that were happening on the field. Grady Jarrett, Lorenzo Carter, and D'Angelo Long all had sacks today, all had tackles for losses. Taquan Graham had 3 tackles on the day. Grady Jarrett got 3 quarterback hits. Lorenzo Carter got a quarterback hit. Excuse me, my bad. I just lost him. Oh, Grady Jarrett, Lorenzo Carter, D'Angelo Long had a quarterback hit, and Bicchetti got a quarterback hit. So, as you saw, the rookies had flashes. Akeem Davis Gaither led the Bengals in tackles. Jay Tufleli had a 6. Him and Jermaine Pratt had 6 tackles. So, pretty balanced day tackling for the Bengals, but hey, they pulled the win out. But Falcons fall to 3-4. They're still tied for first place. Next week, we're at home against the Carolina Panthers. If you are going to the game, hey, man, meet up with me. I'm at every home game. I'm a season ticket holder. Look forward to, I would definitely love to beat some of y'all. But we'll be back on here sometime later this week to talk about where the Falcons stand at the 7 games. But until next time, this has been an episode of All In with Nate. Falcons lose 35-17 to fall to 3-4. And we'll bounce back next week against Carolina at home. Rise up.